I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC 298, where I talk about the biggest winners and losers on the card. We're going to talk with the biggest winner, and I think it's pretty obvious here, and we're going to go with Ilia Topuria, getting it done in the main event. He's the new champ. I mean, listen, nobody played their cards better on this card than Ilia Topuria. He talked a bunch of smack. He talked a lot of confidence in this fight. He talked a bit of cockiness as well. And his fans were buying in too. A lot of people are saying he was going to make this easy. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski. He backed up everything he needed to back up, and there's no one here that played their cards better than Ilia Topuria. So this stock has skyrocketed, not just from the fact that he is the featherweight champion right now. It's the fact that he beat Alexander Volkanovski, the way he beat him and knocked him out. And again, he's got this personality that people love him or hate him, but it's funny because, there's a lot of people probably going into this fight that were ready to hate on him if he lost, but he won, and I feel like people are on his side. You can't look past the performance he put on tonight. Ilia Topuria by far had the biggest stock rise here. He might end up having one of the biggest stock rises of the year if we look back on this performance. I mean, this was an unbelievable, unreal win for him here, getting it done, knocking out Volk. First loss for Volk at 145. Second knockout loss for Volk in his many fights. Very, very, very awesome win there for Ilia Topuria. So he undoubtedly has the highest stock on this. And I talked about this in the reaction video, but I'll mention this as well as far as what's next. It should not be Volk. Now, Volk, listen, what Volk's done as far as his title defenses does earn him a rematch. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is Volk's been knocked out twice now. He should take a long time off here. I don't think you need to put Volk in there for the rematch next. I think what you do is you either do Max Holloway, but I think what's more likely, and I think should make sense, and people might disagree with this, it should be Ivoyev fighting Ilia Topuria next. He's undefeated. Someone's always got to go. Say what you want about his last fight against Arnold Allen, but he has done enough to earn himself a title shot. He got the job done at UFC 297 in his last fight, taking out Arnold Allen, a good contender here. Ivoyev, Topuria, two different styles. I'm down for it. That's the fight I'd like to see next as far as these two going toe-to-toe. So that's what I'd like to see next for Topuria. But yes, the biggest stock riser here, Ilia Topuria. Now look, one last thing I'm going to clarify, and we'll move on to the next one here. He's not Conor McGregor. I think some of the stuff he did this week, there's some similarities. I know people even had the same photo of him taking the belt from Volk and all this different stuff, right? But he's not Conor yet. I think there's some work to do. It's very hard to be Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was great with the one-liners and all that other stuff too, but Topuria, as far as his fight style and the way he dresses and all that, yeah, there's some similarities to Conor, but he's not Conor McGregor. He's definitely become a star tonight. Superstar, that's a different story. I think he can get there. I don't think he's there right now, but winning tonight, definitely a big step there. Okay, second biggest winner on this card, in my opinion, is a fellow countryman here in Merab Dvalishvili. He has got the second biggest stock rise on this card. Because here's the thing. We knew Merab was going to win. I think most people felt like Merab was going to win. I didn't see that many people picking Henry going into this fight. He's looked great. We saw him on display last year against Piotr Jan. He looked outstanding. He gets it done. The thing I think that raised Merab's stock here was the fight was really good. It really was. I mean, he had some fun moments here. He's got Henry in the headlock and he's, talking to the crowd, and, there's some good pace in the fight, and, he took a couple shots too. I just think this was one of the more entertaining fights for Merab. I'm not of the belief he's a boring fighter. I know a lot of people do like to say that, but I think even Merab's biggest critics have to admit it was a fun fight tonight. It really delivered. He looked outstanding. And Merab's got to get the biggest stock rise here. And I think people are universally agreed here. He should get the next title shot. We'll see what the UFC does. I know Corey Sandhagen's waiting in the wings. Sean O'Malley got Cheeto Vera for his first title defense. A lot of people weren't happy about that. We'll see which way they go here. But I think Merab, no issues with him getting the title shot next. I think he deserves it. He, to me, had the second biggest stock rise outside of Ilia Topuria. Looked great, so Merab's got to get my vote there. And my third pick for this one, someone that I think really broke through here tonight, and that's Anthony Hernandez. Great performance here against Kopylov. Going in, I know Hernandez was the favorite. He was expected to win, yada, yada, yada. Here's the thing, though. Kopylov is one of those guys where I think people were kind of describing him the same way. Underrated, slow start to his UFC career, right? But on a nice win streak coming into this one, 32 years of age in the prime of his career, nice 4-fight win streak. But Anthony Hernandez just took over this fight, and getting the submission win, handing Kopylov his first submission loss. Hernandez had an entertaining fight. Yeah, he was a big stock riser on this card here, in my opinion. I think people are excited to see what he can do because part of the thing was he, like Kopylov, had a slow start to his career. He went 1-2. He's now won 5 in a row. A lot of these are finishes too. The ground game's something to behold as well. Let's not forget, on the regional scene, he has a win over Brendan Allen. Would like to see that rematch at some point. I posted the image of them on Twitter here tonight. I don't think you can go wrong. I think the fight for Fluffy Hernandez is Roman Dolidze. Dolidze just lost a few weeks ago. He's obviously not a contender right now the way he lost to Imavov. You're going to have to fight up and-comers. I think Hernandez sort of fits the bill there. Hernandez is still young enough at 30. Hernandez, Roman Dolidze, sign me up. I think that's the next fight to make. You do that as a main event. There's so many good options for Anthony Hernandez, but he was a big winner here tonight, so Anthony Hernandez is that as well. And then for honorable mentions, I got to mention Ian Gary as far as his stock rising in the sense that he won his fight, right? You got to give him that. Was the fight good? Not really. It's not me being an Ian Gary hater. For you Ian Gary fans, I know you're chomping at the bit. You got that angry fist, the Simpsons gif there. I know that for sure. But I got to give him this. Jeff Neal's a very good opponent. Jeff Neal is a great opponent. He went out there to beat Jeff Neal. That in itself, his stock rose a bit in terms of stock definitely rose as far as him as a fighter. Whether he won or lost, he could have won by knockout tonight. People would still boo him. So I don't think like his stock is still what it is. It's there, people don't like Ian Gary, the person, but Ian Gary, the fighter, got a good win tonight. We got to talk about that. His stock rose. And I'll give you one more. Here's another honorable mention. And it's Paulo Costa. Look, I was wrong about Paulo Costa. He almost won tonight. He looked great against Rob Whittaker. He didn't get the nod, but this is the best Paulo Costa's looked in years. I said this on the live stream tonight. He looked about as good as he looked against Yoel Romero back in 2019. We haven't seen that Paulo Costa in a while. That Paulo Costa, I'm here for. I'm willing to watch Paulo Costa fight anyone. I'm totally down for that. He looked good tonight. Listen, he may have lost tonight, but he looked like he belonged in that contender spot, and I don't have an issue with him being ranked now. I don't have an issue with a lot of things with Paulo Costa. He looked good tonight, and that was it was one of those fights that he lost, but I thought his stock went up a bit. So Paulo Costa's got to get a mention. Okay, let's get to the stock lowerers, the losers of the night. And to me, the biggest one is Henry Cejudo, for the simple fact that that's it for Henry. Now, I don't recall, unless I missed something, I don't think he officially retired tonight, but he did talk about that going into the fight. That's it. He's not getting a bantamweight title shot again. That was his chance. I personally think that he had a really close fight with Sterling. Like, I wonder if he even kind of regrets coming back now. He came up short against Sterling. I think he took too much time off. If Cejudo maybe come back a year earlier, I think there was a chance he could have beat Aljamain Sterling or Piotr Jan, or whoever was the champ at the time. I think there was a good case there. I think he didn't play his cards right. I think he came back too late. I think you could have made a case for him beating Sterling in his last fight, but like fighting Merab, you probably should have just ended it at Sterling. Like, tonight's fight wasn't close. I talked about it there. That's one thing I forgot to mention with Merab and why his stock went up was that like he clearly beat Henry 2 and 3. Like Henry didn't have much at the end. So to me, he was the biggest loser. If we're in the lens of Cejudo is a big star for the UFC, right? So he's now lost 2 fights in a row. No one had a bigger impact tonight losing than Henry Cejudo. So, I know people say Volk and all this different stuff. We'll get to Volk a little bit later, but Henry Cejudo to me was the biggest loser tonight because like, this is it. Like, it's probably like, let's say he doesn't retire. Where on earth does he go from here? He's not making 125. That's out of the question, right? He's talked about that and everything else. So it's just at 135. And like, I don't know many guys he beats right now, honestly. Like, it's a deep division. So yeah, Cejudo to me, biggest stock dropper on the card. Okay, second one was the guy I just mentioned there. It's Alex Volkanovski. Now look, was I surprised that Volk got knocked out? No, because again, Topuria has knockout power. We've seen him do it to a number of guys. It's just the stock's down in the sense that like, he's lost 2 in a row now. That GOAT conversation. Like, you can't take away what Volk's done prior to the Islam fights and the fight against Ilia Topuria tonight. You can't take that away from him. So Volk, no matter what happens from here on out, he's still going to go down as one of the best ever, like especially at 145, right? So you can't deny that. It's just his stock did go down. I mean, it absolutely did. He's not the champ anymore. Where does he go from here? Like, does he even get an immediate rematch? He's like, I said on the stream tonight that he should take a lot of time off. He's got knocked out twice in a row. That's not good. Don't come back. Even if the UFC's like, we want to do the rematch in 6 months, I think he needs more time off than that. And I'm not a doctor, but when you've been knocked out twice and you're 35, turning 36 in later this year, it's probably better to take more time off than you need. So, yeah, Volk's just in a tough spot now, so he has to be our second stock dropper on this list for sure. I mean, Cejudo's at the point of retirement. Volkanovski, I suppose there's a chance he gets his belt back with Cejudo. There's like, no percent that he gets his belt back at all. So Volkanovski's the second one. And the third one, you guys know how I felt about him going into this fight, Jeff Neal. I thought he was going to win. Jeff himself making a post mentioning that it was not his best fight. So Jeff Neal coming up short in this one. I think it was a missed opportunity for Jeff Neal. Now look, Ian Gary, taller guy, tougher to get on the inside, tougher to knock out. But I felt like, especially in that third round, Jeff gave it away. I think, listen, I know the one judge gave Jeff the fight, right? If I'm not mistaken, or was it a unanimous? No, it was split. That's right. I was just thinking of the other fight. I think Jeff, if he would have pushed a little bit harder in the third round, I think there was a chance he could have won this fight. I do. I do feel that way. Because I think some of those rounds were close. Like, there wasn't a lot of action. But if Jeff would have just gotten in, like, if he would have just not clinched as much, I think, and again, this is easy from a guy behind a camera saying this, but I feel like Jeff left a bit on the table in that fight with Ian Gary. You know, the guy wore your mugshot. Like, you'd think there'd be a little bit more emotion. I didn't like the hand tapping either in the fight. Yeah, Jeff Neal's stock went down because, like, at 33, and you think this guy beat Bilal Muhammad a couple of years ago. Like, where does he go from here now? Like, it's going to be probably up and comers, right? Because he's lost 2 key fights now against contenders. So yeah, Jeff Neal's another stock dropper as well. And I'm actually going to, this is the first time I've done this on the show, but I'm going to do it here today as far as a stock dropper. Amanda Lemos, she's lucky she won that fight. Now, I know she did end up winning a decision here, and, you know, she got it done, but, like, she should have finished that fight in the second round. She didn't. She was on her back far too much for my liking, and she almost lost this fight. So, listen, like, the reason I put her stock down, because I know technically, you know, the rankings and all that, her stock went up, but she goes down because going into this fight, I think a lot of us expected Amanda Lemos to knock out Dern. You know, she looked good. Dern's face is all messed up. No debate there, but the fight IQ is a bit of a concern, and I think people betting her going forward have to keep that in mind, that this was a fight that was a big red flag for me here. So, listen, as much as she got the win, and, you know, she's back in the win column after losing to Weili Zhang, she, you know, again, her stock has gone down from what it was before, because if she had gone out there and finished Dern, then there's no questions. But the bad fight IQ got exposed tonight. That puts her stock down a little bit more. One more I'll throw here as far as the stock, but he didn't have much to begin with. Josh Quinlan, he was undefeated. Remember, 6-0 when he came in the UFC. He's now lost 2 in a row. He gets finished in this fight. His stock has gone down also, but didn't have a ton of stock to start with. So those are my choices here. Just to recap, Ilia Topuria, Murad Anthony Hernandez, my big stock risers. Honorable mentions to Ian Gary and Paulo Costa. Biggest stock droppers, Henry Cejudo, Alex Volkanovski, Jeff Neal, and honorable mention to Amanda Lemos. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Always love to hear from you guys. The stock report's just a little fun thing I do on here as far as the biggest winners and losers and all that on the card, but always like hearing from you in the comments. So let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. This is the stock report, a report I do after every single UFC event. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys soon.